Hello guys, again. So, second half we're going to have a look at modern tech, what's happening in the world of tech, how does that affect us as an end user, what's new, what's coming down the line, what can we expect to see, coming soon. So we always start with a bit of AI, so a quick chat about ChatGPT. So in the last, it's not quite 2 months since our last one, is it? It's almost 2 months since we last met. They've announced, again, loads. They do. We can kind of measure progress in days now compared to months or years as it used to be. So the first thing with ChatGPT, I can't really show you a demo of this one because it'd take a long time to show you. But they've released a new model, so the O1 model. The O1 model is the first model to show reasoning. So the whole idea of reasoning, up until now when we've used AI, it's really rubbish at long form text. It kind of gets a bit lost, it goes off on a bit of a tangent. So if you're using AI regularly, we will always recommend to you do it in bite-sized chunks. If you're asking it to write a document, work on it a paragraph at a time, build it out, rehash, refix. And with reasoning, it kind of throws everything we know out the window. It wants you to give it everything. And when you then give it everything, you watch it think, and you can expand and see its thought process. And by its thought process, I say that as like it's a person. It's obviously not, but what it is the AI is working with other AIs to ask it the sort of questions we would ask as we were doing that short form thing. So when it gives you a statement, before it puts that statement out in front of you, it says things like, this is the statement, double checking that that statement is correct. And it's going through all of those bits to give us a bit more accuracy. So we've got AI policing AI, which gives us this kind of what they're calling reasoning. It's very interesting. There is a lot of information out there you can go and have a look at that would probably do it much better justice than I can. But if you have a Plus account, if you've got a Team account or Enterprise, reasoning is available on there. It's called O1 Preview. Sam Altman just the other day was talking about they kind of slipped. On Friday, people had access to the full model, so the O1 Preview. Yeah, they had the full O1. It looks like it's going to be coming this side of Christmas. The other thing ChatGPT have done recently, they've bought chat.com. So if you go to chat.com now, it goes to ChatGPT. They paid $10 million for a domain name just because they wanted to have chat.com. For a company that's supposed to be community-based, open AI, it's a lot of money for a domain name. Other things that they've had though, let's have a look at this one. So this one is Canvas. So Canvas is a really, really interesting one. So the whole idea here, as we chat to AI, and we chat to it here, a canvas expands and opens on the right-hand side of the screen. Copilot have announced something very similar. They've called it Pages. And the whole idea here is instead of you having to go back and keep scrolling through and finding what I'm working on, it's building out this page next to you, and we can continue to edit it and update it until we've got that finished and we want to go and copy and paste that into our document. It's probably only a moment of time until they start doing this where you'll be able to have Word open in that right-hand side, or your Google Pages or whatever app you're going to be using. This is kind of them dipping their toe into it. We can change that, and the whole idea, we just keep building as we're working on it. So it's called Canvas. The whole idea is it's an interactive workspace. You can give it targeted feedback. As it's giving you that text, you can say, oh, actually, I don't like that paragraph. Can you rewrite that one? And it will just rewrite that one paragraph instead of that constant stream of text that's coming out, and we're seeing it. The next one's a really exciting one. ChatGPT have brought out search. And this is their direct attempt at taking on Google. And I've said it to people before. I said it just on Monday at the first AI bootcamp. Google as we know it, the whole idea of going to Google to search for things is dead. It's dying. In the next 5 years, we won't use it anymore. AI can do it quicker for us. It bypasses all the ads. It bypasses and gets us the data that we need from multiple places and brings it all into one place. And ChatGPT search does exactly that. And the whole idea here, like we've seen with Perplexity, like we've seen with Bing Chat, it's contextually aware. We can keep speaking to it. So we can ask it something, it will bring us that data back. We can then ask it a little bit more, and it will go and search and find more information for you, building out what you need and helping you with your research or helping you search for what you need. And with that, it's going to provide you with source links. So all the citations are there. Again, 3 rules of AI. Obviously, 1, we've always said, to get you 80% of the way there in 5% of the time. 2, it will get things wrong. And 3, don't trust things implicitly. So with that, check those citations. When it's got that information and put it in front of you, it shows you where it got it from. Go and have a look, make sure it's correct before you bet your house on it or whatever you're going to do. But the whole idea of it is it's follow-up friendly. We can use that search and talk to a search engine, and it will continue to find things for us. Google are a bit worried on this one. Obviously, we've seen things. Google, if you're signed in, Gemini will have search at the top of your search results now. It kind of does something similar and kind of gives you a little bit of information about what it's finding. But this is kind of, it's got them on the back foot. It's a very, very interesting way of doing things. The next one, we spoke about it quite a few times, but this is advanced voice mode. Now, before we go into this one in a lot, has anybody played with advanced voice mode yet? No. Cool, it's going to be new for the room then. We've done demos before where we've spoke to AI, and when we speak to AI, AI can speak back to us, and it's very cool. But we had to wait for it to finish before we could talk. It had to wait for us to finish before it spoke back. It was still impressive. It was certainly better than Siri and Alexa and things that we've got out there, but it didn't quite feel as natural as it could do. And the whole idea of advanced voice mode is advanced voice mode now lets you speak to it and it can understand your emotions. It can tell if you're scared, if you're worried, if you're out of breath. It can make assumptions on noises and things in the environment around you. But it can also retort in that same way. So it can now itself show emotions. It can do voices. It can whisper. You can interrupt it. You can have a full conversation with it as you would with a normal person. And the whole idea of that is supposed to be this kind of fluid conversations. It's multilingual, so you could be in a room with someone that's talking in one language. As soon as it hears it, will repeat that in another language. So you could use it as an interpreter in a room. And the custom voices in there are quite interesting as well. One thing they did have, that was a problem with it, is as it was talking to you and you were talking to it, it would occasionally slip into your voice, which freaked some people out.
Jesus.
Obviously, everything in life is data. Sound that comes from your voice is just data. It listens, it synthesizes it, and it can spot patterns. So they had to, and again, like with reasoning, they now have an AI listening to the AI and saying, are you still in the same voice? Are you still in the same voice? To stop it from doing it. So the easiest way to show you really is I'm going to do a demo of it. In a noisy room, it doesn't work particularly well if it picks up other stuff, but there is a mute button on here. So I'm going to see where we go with it. Hey there, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How about you? Can you hear me?
I can indeed. You're in a room with about 40 people and we're doing a demo on advanced voice mode. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. It's great to be a part of your demo. I hope you're all having a fantastic time exploring advanced voice mode. Feel free to ask me anything.
Does anybody speak any other languages? French, cool. Could you say hello in French for me as well, please?
Bien sûr. Bonjour à tout le monde. Je suis ravie de participer à votre démo sur le mode vocal avancé.
Cool, that's enough. We'll stop you there.
Got it. Stopping right there. If you need anything else, just let me know.
Could you say hello in a different voice to the people, please?
Absolutely. Here we go. In a deep, booming voice. Greetings, everyone. Delighted to be part of your demo. Enjoy the exploration of advanced voice mode.
That's not really what I was after. Can you do something that shows a little bit more? Can you go for a bit of an accent? How about go for a Spanish accent, but speak in English?
Sure thing. With a Spanish accent, hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here.
Pretty cool, right? All right, we'll stop you there. We'll stop you there.
All right, stopping.
Cool, cool. Right, so I'm going to ask you now, can we do something, obviously, tell the people about advanced voice mode. What can advanced voice mode do that you couldn't do before?
Absolutely. With advanced voice mode, I can understand and respond to more complex vocal commands, and I can engage in more dynamic, natural conversations. This means better recognition of different accents and dialects, more accurate context understanding, and an overall more interactive experience.
Cool, I'm going to stop you there then. Can you tell the difference between multiple people in a conversation?
I can pick up on cues like different speaking styles or distinct turns in the conversation, which helps me respond appropriately. However, I don't identify individual voices or know who is speaking based solely on their voice.
Cool. So I'm going to stop it there. Does anybody want to ask it anything? Does anybody want to put it through its paces? Anyone brave enough? No? Cool. I will stop there then. Now, as with all AI, when we're talking to it, it's transcripted that as well. So if we're having a chat with it, if you were talking to it about writing a scope of works, if you were writing an article, you can have that conversation. You can ask it to interview you to find out more. And then what's really cool is afterwards, you don't have to think, oh God, what did I say? Because it's all written down for you. So long gone are the days when I sit at my computer typing away when I'm writing long documents now. I can just talk to AI. It asks me, and I encourage it to ask me questions about what I'm working on as well. And it asks questions that maybe I wouldn't have thought of to add that extra bit of quality.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
I totally missed. I thought this was separate to ChatGPT because maybe it's just a bit late in the day for me, or thick or blonde or something. This is on my. Oh, yes, thank you.
Oh, shit. Bloody hell.
One set of that in the corner. Can I ask it now if he's a tech? This is on my ChatGPT now. I can speak to my ChatGPT on my computer and on my phone by pressing that.
Advanced advanced voice is there if you have this icon. So this icon, it's available to Plus users. It's not available to the free users yet. So as long as you've got a Plus account.
4.0 is the one that I paid 20 quid a month for.
Yeah. So you'll have that on there. Yes.
I was going to ask a question about SEO. Because it's in Google, then you do keywords and things like that. How do we get on ChatGPT?
It picks up on the same things. So everything you put on SEO, it's scraping the same information. So when you're doing SEO on your website and you're doing your tags on it's looking at exactly the same things. What this can do that's slightly different, of course, is when it looks at a website, it's got visual recognition, which Google hasn't. Google kind of trusts you that when you tag an image and say this is a horse, that it's a picture of a horse. AI actually looks at it and goes, is it a picture of a horse? So we're going one step further as well. So you can't I know some people do kind of tricks in SEO where you might put the descriptions a little bit kind of elaborate to what actually is on the page. This is actually going to read the page and make sure, does it actually match up? So some of the tricks to kind of heighten your ranking and stuff aren't going to exist as much. But as we've said with anything with AI, every time something new comes out, we find other new ways of doing things as well. So there'll be updates for SEO and all sorts of things. This is real bleeding edge at the moment. So the search only came out last week. Yeah, it was last week because as an example, what I did, I was watching Taskmaster at the time and I wanted to see how live the search was. So I just said to it, who's in the latest episode of Taskmaster? What time is the next episode of Taskmaster on? And it's like, oh, you just missed it. It was on 20 minutes ago. And then I was like, who's in it? And it told me who was in there. What's the episode name? All the sorts of things you would have to normally go, to IMDb and dig around. It was just pulling that information in really, really quickly and live. So very, very, interesting approach they've put to it.
So, what you're saying is, will you see the depth of Googleability now the search engine?
The idea of going to a website and searching for a term like we used to, and people that are good at Google, that kind of Google foo, we call it, writing the right things in and omit this word, and that's not going to be there anymore. You're just going to be saying exactly what I need, and it's going to grab that information from wherever it needs to from around the internet. And I think that's it's already hitting Google. It will hit Bing, it will hit all of the other search engines that are out there. But I think the only way Google will be able to survive with that is Google will have to do that same thing. They're going to have to bring AI in, that when you go to the front page of Google, it's probably going to be a chatbot. That whole idea of that search box is probably going to disappear.
Do you think that's the same with the actual website? So if you go to one of our websites here, that's coming through that.
There's a lot of people already experimenting. On our Techosaurus website, we've just put our own chatbot on there. And the whole idea of that is for people that are just, I don't want to browse around the website. I just want to ask a question. And it's working and it's doing that. I think at some point it could be a really, you're thinking ahead, which is great. But I think there might be the idea of, I don't need a website anymore. What I'm actually going to do is provide a list of instructions to AI so that if somebody asks about a service in the local area, AI is just going to respond. And it's going to be able to tell you, what are my services? This is the person you should, okay, cool. Can you tell me more about this person? and it will tell you what they can do. Could you show me some photos and some examples? And it will put the photos in front of you. I don't know what that's going to do to the website world. It could be, but we're probably quite ahead, and we're talking obviously futurology there, but it doesn't seem in the realms of impossible. It's certainly, the whole idea, people making custom chat GPTs and things as well. We're getting towards that direction.
There's quite a bit of work being done on Google My Business at the moment to improve the functionality of that. I'm seeing quite a few people spending more time doing that than their social media and their website, because they see that with these integrations and the AI and Gemini and things like that, being more valuable to them than listing and backlinks and all the rest of it. So I don't think you're too far wrong there. I don't think it's going to be that long.
No, I think we're definitely on the cusp of something very interesting. Yes?
How far is Copilot behind this thing?
So Copilot's release schedule's about 6 months behind ChatGPT. If you always want to see what's coming to Copilot, it tends to be look at what's happening at ChatGPT, and then it's coming into Copilot.
Something like this will be on Copilot.
This actually, advanced voice mode, is available in the consumer version of Copilot already. It's not available in the 365 version. So if you wanted to go and have a play with, it's not exactly the same, it's not quite as advanced, but it's more advanced than it used to be. If you go to copilot.microsoft.com and log in with a Windows Live account, so not a 365 account. If you log in with a 365 account, it'll take you off to the corporate version. The consumer version's had a massive revamp, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You had a question?
How far off is completely, how far off do you think it is for recognising sign language? Because obviously you said about you've been able to do interpretation of or understanding of different languages and all that. How long do you think AI will then start being able to read sign language?
So again, a really interesting one. I don't see why, if someone has the idea and wants to apply that to it, we're not far off it already. AI can watch videos. I saw a video Monday of AI watching a site walk around on a building site. And what AI was then doing was it was spotting good practices and bad practices. And after the video had finished, spat out an Excel report. And you were just suddenly like, that's a person's entire job there. But if it can spot that walking around on a site, and it can spot, and we can already do things like translate videos. And I've recorded videos of myself speaking in English and then watch back as the video is me in French, and it's translated me entirely. It's probably not far off. It's whether someone's had the idea to definitely, I would say, have a look into it. If you've had that idea first, you could be ahead of the game yourself there.
We all heard it though, didn't we? So
You own it.
Trademark.
Yes, Mandy.
If ChatGPT is getting all its knowledge by scraping the internet, if you follow the natural progression as you predict, and websites will cease to exist, surely the quality of the data it will disappear. That amount of information is gradually going to get older and less up to date. How is it going to learn in the future if it doesn't?
I think with that, much like you submit a website to Google and you say to Google, go and scrape my website, I think what will happen instead is you'll have an this is a list of my search, and it will be written, without getting too techy, I reckon it'll be JSON, because it's really easy language for the computer to understand. So it's going to be written in JSON of a list of this is what we offer, this is what we do, and it's already pre-formatted, so AI doesn't have to go and scrape it. You're speaking to it in the language that it knows, so it can then just give it back to you in English.
What about informational content? I mean, you're talking about services and stuff there. What about information?
Well, I think obviously things like videos and stuff are never going to die. Pictures will never die. A picture paints 1,000 words. I think it was just I think websites, I don't think they'll ever disappear. You need to store that stuff somewhere. But AI is certainly going to be able to pull that information quicker. So you won't necessarily, if AI is answering your questions, are you really going to spend the time making sure that article looks pretty? Because all it's actually going to do is that AI is going to scrape it and spit it out in the chatbot anyway. With some.
The websites probably aren't going to be producing as much content in the future.
No,
so
I think that will dial down. But I think it'll be interesting. Obviously, written word's still going to be really important. We're at a point where AI is already running out of information. So the large language models, they've read every book in the world. They've read every website in the world. They call it the self-eating snake, because what it's now doing is it's reading websites that have been written by AI, and it's like it's teaching itself, and there's a risk there. So I think that's definitely going to change some things.
Is it worth touching on the dead internet theory? That's something you'll
It is. I don't know if here's the right place for it.
What you're just raised there is a really interesting point, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people about the dead internet theory? I don't know. I've read about it and I've kind of poo-pooed it. So if you're interested, I'll tell you what. I will do a whole thing on the dead internet theory next time. I saw a fist pump back there then. Cool.
Come back.
It is very much a conspiracy theory, but it's an interest. It's food for thought. You might leave afterwards thinking, are we all in the Matrix? Cool. So the question you asked about accessing this on your app. The app I've just used on my Mac, the Windows app, is now available. It's early version, so if you've got a Windows device and you want to install ChatGPT on your Windows device, you can now go to the Microsoft Store, download it from there, and it does things like take screenshots of your machine if you ask it to. It doesn't just willy-nilly go and do it. But again, you're using things directly in the desktop. On Android, yes. Yeah. So next, let's talk about Claude. Claude is, we've spoken about it many times before, is owned by Anthropic, major rival to ChatGPT. It's probably, I would say it's a much friendlier AI than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is quite analytical. Claude is much better at, if you wanted to write a poem or a song or, you want to start writing a novel. It's a much more friendly thing to talk to. They have announced a few things. The first one to talk about is probably the scariest one I've seen, but also the most impressive one. Claude have released a model that will allow AI to control your computer. By control your computer, it means it can take control of the mouse and the keyboard, and it can see your screen and start doing your job and working for you. So they've released this at a very early stage to people and developers to experiment and see what can they get it to do. I've seen some fantastic examples of how this is being used. I've seen some really interesting examples as well. There was one, they were doing a live demo and they were showing people, and AI suddenly opened up Google Images and started looking at pictures of mountains, and they don't know why. There was obviously some kind of bias or something in the training for it to do it. Obviously, it doesn't have free will. Don't be scared. But what they're showing here, there's a few videos. I'd encourage you to go and have a look. A really good example they showed was someone, he had a spreadsheet of data and a form he had to fill in because there was no way he could import that data. That was someone's manual job of copy, delete, carry on. He showed AI what he was doing and said, carry on. And it went, okay, and you see it moving the mouse around and doing everything it needs to do. So I've got a video to show you that was quite a cool demo.
I'm going to show you a simple example of computer use today. My friend's coming to San Francisco next week, and I want to take him to do some touristy stuff. I think doing a sunrise hike with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge never gets old. So I'll ask Claude to figure out some logistics for us. I'll ask Claude to find a good place to see the sunrise, to help me figure out timing logistics, and help drop a calendar invite so I remember when I have to leave.
So everything you're seeing here now
going to Google,
it's controlling the computer. She is hands off.
And it looks like it's found something. Great. So how far away is the location from my place? It's opening maps, searching for the distance between my area and the hiking location. Cool. So now it looks like Claude is searching for the sunrise time tomorrow. And is now dropping it into my calendar. And populating it with some details. And great, it looks like Claude did it. This is a simple example, but we're sharing computer use early to learn from what people build.
So this isn't available to everybody yet. Like we say, they've released it to developers to see what they can get it to do. And there is some really, really interesting. I've seen a couple of people in the room with faces are like, oh. Yeah, the whole idea of AI at the moment has always been doing what we've asked it to do. We're moving to a world where Satya Nadella, so that the CEO of Microsoft, refers to it as agentic. So we're talking of agents that can do things for us. We'll talk more on that in a moment.
What's the danger of that, though? If someone hacks into that, my computer's in sleep mode, it can wake it up, it can access passwords if they're saved on...
Hacks into what?
Well, if that's doing that without me touching anything, her touching anything, I've left my computer to go and make a coffee. It could be doing anything in the background.
Like coffee as well.
Jesus, get a room.
With that one, you've got to think it's AI that's controlling your machine. Someone can't hack the AI and use the same tools that we're using. But that is no different to you might have remote desktop installed on your PC for someone to be able to support you and help you out.
Yeah, but in that I have to give them a code, so I have to be there for them to do it. This feels to me like, I don't know, if I'm sending my computer into hibernation mode or sleep mode, this could wake it up without me being there even.
It couldn't, no, because the computer's asleep. If the computer's asleep, the application's not running. So you're still in control. You're still asking it to do things for you. It wouldn't be able to wake your PC up for you. And again, they're still ironing out anything. So those sorts of concerns, I think that's why it's not been released to the public yet. The next thing on here is Claude for desktop. So we've seen it obviously running on the desktop there. The desktop app is now available. So we've already got the mobile app. It's a really good one if you want to compare features. There are some really killer features in Claude that I love. One of my favorite ones on there is artifacts. We did a demo of that at Digital Somerset last month. And on that one, we actually asked it to make a website for us that we could collect data. So it was a form. The whole idea of that one was if you were to go to an event where you don't have internet, I'm showcasing and I want people to leave their details. And it made that for us as a portable web app in one command. So just one AI command, it wrote the code and then the code turned into a website. We're going to be using that one a bit more. We're doing Digital Somerset at the end of this month and it's a whole event based on computer games. So we're actually playing games with AI. And with that one, we're going to be making a computer game using artifacts. So there's some really cool stuff there. They are, like I say, it's a bit of a leapfrog between different AIs. They're really excited that you can now dictate messages to Claude. Claude doesn't have voice. ChatGPT is the one that ticks all the boxes because they're omni models. They're really excited now that you can dictate a message to Claude and it can understand it. It won't talk back to you there. The other one that they've got on here is they've now, within PDFs, it will view the images as well. So instead of just scraping text from PDFs, we can start doing a bit more with complex documents, charts, graphics, so it can read those charts and graphs. So Microsoft and Copilot. I said about Satya. So Satya announced autonomous AI agents, the launch of Copilot Studio, expansion of AI infrastructure in the UK, lots and lots of things. But Copilot Studio and autonomous agents, this one's a really interesting. So the word agentic, you're going to start seeing this in lots of places. You might not have heard it before. I don't think he penned it, but I certainly had heard it before he spoke about it. But he was talking about the whole idea of AI being able to do independent task execution. So at the moment, AI can only do things when we talk to the chatbot. What they're talking about now is AI will be able to be injected into workflows and do things without us having to give it input. So we can do things and say to it, like, when I receive an email from Ben, I need you to do this, and then do this, and move a file to this folder, and do and we've seen things. So Power Automate and flows, and if this then this, those kind of scripting things that we've seen before. What we're seeing now is AI will be able to appear in those, so we can have these triggers that get AI to do things for us. When they did the demo and showed it, there was the first time that I saw that it made me feel it was a bit dystopian, because he referred to all the work that it was doing, and there was some really clever bits in there. So questions I had was, well, what about if AI gets something wrong or it's not sure? And what it does is AI then escalates to a human agent. And they were talking about humans and robot agents side by side, and it was the first time I've heard someone in tech refer to obviously the difference of, we've got people that are working for us that are no longer human. This is brand new, obviously that was announced in London in the last couple of weeks. Some really interesting, so it's got kind of decision-making power. You give it parameters on how to make those decisions. So something like customer queries, when they come in, it will look at that customer query in an email, no longer needing to be a chatbot. It will look through its Rolodex of what my answers can be, and it will answer for you. But if it's not sure, it would then escalate to someone and say, can you answer this for me? And you answer it. So it's going to change how things are happening there, things like inventory as well. The whole idea is to free up humans to be doing the stuff that computers won't be able to do. We then saw Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio has been around for a while, but this is the lighter version. And the whole idea of this is it works a bit like custom GPTs. So I can describe to this what I want it to do. Or I can go into configure. And when I go into configure, I can give it a description and instructions. But more importantly, when I get down to here, I can provide knowledge. So knowledge, if I'm in 365, I can point it to a SharePoint site or a collection of SharePoint sites and say, use this knowledge to answer these questions. And that would all be in my instruction set here. And the instruction set can be a big, long instruction set. What we did with this was we used this on an intranet. So the intranet had lots of other sites and pages and said to it, just all of these are your knowledge. And your job is to help people navigate the intranet and find HR policies and find career tracks and all sorts of things. And what that meant then is that bot went live and we set that up in 5 minutes. And what we could do with that bot is we could say to it, what's our paternity policy? Boom, there it was. It wrote it out for you with a link to where it was without you having to go and find it. You could say to it, where am I going in my career? What's my next career track progression? And using your graph data, it knows what job you have because you're using Copilot 365. It knows your job title. It knows who your manager is. And it went off to our employment site, which looked at our career tracks. And with those career tracks, it knew where you were going next, what you needed to do to continue growth in your career. So it was doing these, and you could ask it things after that point and ask things, well, how would I better prepare for this? How could I prepare for an interview? How could I prepare for a review? So there's many, many things in there. The surprising bit on it was just how quick and easy it was to make. We've made ones for creating scopes of work. We've made ones for better writings, all sorts of different things. So the next one on there, I was saying about that copilot.microsoft.com. So the consumer version of Copilot has now been picked up by a different team. And much like we looked at Clarity earlier, and it doesn't look as Microsoft, it doesn't have that. This is a Microsoft product. It looks nothing like a Microsoft product. It's friendly, it's warm, it's nice to use. It's not that kind of clinical business thing that Microsoft have been doing up until now. It's got a little bit of maybe the Xbox feel from back in the day with that kind of Xbox dashboard. But the team that are creating this, they've come over from Notion and all sorts of different places, and they've been given artistic freedom that you can now use this. This is where you can get that new voice mode. So yeah, I encourage you to go and have it because it's free. It doesn't cost a penny. You go in. There are rate limits and stuff on there. You can pay for the pro version of it if you're not a 365 user and you want to use it here. Everyone's just where you're going to stick your 20 quid at the moment. You're going with Claude, you're going with ChatGPT, you're going here. They're all kind of, like we say, frog leaping all over each other.
Which one would you recommend?
I'm ChatGPT all the way at the moment. We're doing some massive things with ChatGPT. Our chatbot on our website is ChatGPT. I like to be with it just because it's at the front. It's well supported. It's got more features. I just find it easier to use. I actually have access to Copilot 365 as well, and I regularly will go back to ChatGPT to use things in ChatGPT because Copilot 365 is just not quite there yet. So all of those we were talking about were paid for. Let's talk about one that's not. Apple Intelligence. So iOS 18.1 launched just last week, available to everybody. If you install that on your phone, if you've got a 15 Pro or higher, so it's a really quite high bar. But all phones in the future will have it baked in. And what that will do, at the moment, 18.1, you've got to set your device to US language, which is a pest. You've got to set your Siri to US language, but then you've got Apple Intelligence, and it's the entry point of Apple Intelligence. So it can summarize your emails for you, summarize text messages. You've got that rewrite, everything baked into the OS. Everything that you get from Copilot 365, but on your OS for free. And it's fascinating to use on your phone. The way it can, the way it can summarize and what it can do on your desktop. 18.2 is in beta at the moment. 18.2 will allow us to use the UK language, and that also brings some extra toys to it. There is an image playground, which is like DALL-E in ChatGPT, but I can do things like, if I was having a conversation with you, Rich, it would come up and I could open the image playground and it goes, here's some photos of Rich that, you've been at meetings because I've tagged you. I could drag that in and it will cartoonize you, but then I could ask other questions to then send in it's all, I don't see it as, there's no business use to these parts in this image playground, but they've called it playground. It's something fun, something entertaining, probably a great one to play with the kids and send them silly messages and stuff. But it's very clever. One of my favorite things on there is that summarize part. So with an email, if I have a really long email chain, the top message, instead of, so I see the subject, and instead of it showing me the first few lines of the last message, in a couple of lines, it summarizes the whole email chain. So I can very quickly look at it and go, yeah, it's not important. I'll get that to later. So it's just a really handy tool. Gemini, second to last on AI, we're talking about today. So Gemini is now available in Google Maps. So it's providing personalized suggestions, curated recommendations. So if you're signed into Google, it's starting to learn things about what we're doing, where we're going, spotting those trends, recommending things. They've now brought it into their smart home controls as well. But the big one, and the one I really implore you to go and have a play with, if you write down Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is free, it's made by Google. It's made by one chap at Google. Everyone at Google is allowed 1 day a month to kind of build whatever they want. And occasionally these things get released into the wild. Notebook LM is a very easy way to train a small language model. So the idea of it is you can go on and you can give it up to 50 sources of information. So I can paste a link in, I can upload a PDF, I can write some text, I can paste some text in, I can put a YouTube video in and it will watch the YouTube video and it understands what was in the YouTube video. Then I can ask it about all the stuff that I've got. So if I've gone and done some research and got some pages from somewhere, now I've made a chatbot that only knows this. And I can ask it and it'll start working with me. The really fun bit is right at the top, there's a button that says make a podcast. And it will make a podcast about the information you have provided it with that has two hosts that chat to each other. Quite freaky, like there's not many giveaways that it's AI. You've got a female host and a male host, American, so it's very kind of NPR kind of, but it's incredibly impressive. We used it ourselves for the AI bootcamp. And on our homepage, on there's a play button and it'll tell you everything about the AI bootcamp, tell you everything about me and Ellie. And it did all of that by just giving it 2 links. And it took me about 2 minutes of my time. And when it came out, I was like, this is, very, very impressive. The biggest one of note was NVIDIA. So NVIDIA make graphics chips. And they make chips for like the Nintendo Switch. And they have an online gaming platform as well. NVIDIA kind of rule AI on the basis of everybody that's using AI at the moment uses their graphics chips to actually run the AI. And NVIDIA kind of kept their toe out. NVIDIA in the last month released their own model called NVLM. NVLM, you won't see it anywhere. It's not a product that you're going to have access to, because what they did was they said, look, we've made this game-changing AI model that's better than ChatGPT, it's better than Claude, it's better than what we've got in Copilot. And what we're going to do is we've open sourced it and everyone can use it. You can put it in your own products. There's no cost to it. NVIDIA just kind of showing off, for want of a better word. What's really interesting with this one, because it's open source, it's really going to boost competition. And when they announced this very quickly off the foot, we saw Claude announcing computer use and what we're going to do here. We saw OpenAI announcing it. So it's just kind of keeping that momentum going. It's going to speed up some innovation. But the fact that they've said, look, here's this language model and you can all use it is, very interesting. I knew I was going to be in a room full of webbies, so I wanted to talk about this one. Who makes WordPress websites?
Ooh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? Sorry, I was a nervous twitch.
A couple of people hiding. WordPress websites are really important. They are one of the most accessible content management systems out there. If you make a WordPress website for a client or for yourself, the kind of entry-level bar is really low. It means you can teach people how to update the content themselves. They can look after their website, but they still need good web agencies to make it look better. Like, you could use it as a hobbyist thing. You could do all sorts of things. WordPress has been around for a long time. WP Engine is a hosting provider that provides hosting for WordPress websites. They were part of the WordPress group. WordPress is open source. There is no charge for it. Basically, what happened was the WordPress co-founder, a chap called Matt Mullingweg, he obviously oversees what happens at WordPress. He has his own WordPress hosting company, we'll add as well. But he decided that WP Engine weren't giving enough resources back to WordPress and citing where their platform came from and just kind of looking out for them. So what he did was he cut off WP Engine from being able to access all of WordPress's services. And with that, we're talking millions of websites that are hosted on WP Engine just stopped working overnight because somebody thought, oh, I don't like the way they're playing. There was a real legal back and forth. 150 employees have left Automatic. So Automatic are the company that own WordPress. And the kind of implications on the industry here is people that were using WP Engine, they were the ones that suffered. Although it was WP Engine that was like the target of this, I'm going to cut you off. And it was kind of a bit like the faulty AV we had a couple of months ago. I can't remember the name of it. What was the AV that updated and everyone's Windows died? CrowdStrike. It's this kind of everyone having all their eggs in one basket. And what was really interesting on this was a lot of people in the industry that were WP Engine were suddenly like, well, if WordPress is open source, they shouldn't be able to just cut people off. It's not how it works. they're flexing muscles that shouldn't be flexed. So there are people now that are looking for the idea of other custom CMSs and other kind of, what other tools that are out there. And we are seeing businesses worried about staying with WordPress. So it's an interesting one, and it makes you think, should you put all your eggs in one basket? Should you trust your open source platform? Where does it come from? So that's why I ask people, obviously here making WordPress, yourself, are you aware of this? Were you worried about it at all? You've been ignoring it. Oh, okay.
The best way. It might go away.
Something that showed how petty it was if you go to WordPress's website and go to sign into a WordPress account or set up a new account, there is now a tick box that says, I do not endorse, I will not work with, and I am not affiliated with WP Engine. And you're not allowed to sign up an account or sign in unless you tick that box.
There's actually a really good YouTube video of Matt talking to a developer.
Is there?
And it was actually just before he did that. And it also, there's a bit of a story behind the fact that he was trying to pinch staff from WP Engine.
Yeah.
And he blackmailed them. And they actually put the text messages up. And it basically said, if you don't come and join me, I'm going to go to the papers. The problem was WP Engine, when they put the lawsuit in, took the screenshots and it went all over. It's everywhere. So
it's really dirty, like real proper like airing of public laundry. And that when that tick button came out, you realised how petty it is. And you would think, obviously, something that's so big like WordPress. There's so many websites that are out there being made by WordPress. It's just a really interesting. I have written. There's an article which, when we share these out, there's a bit more information on there. With a podcast from the article as well, using Notebook LM. So if you can't be asked to read, it'll just tell you about it when you're out and about. This one fascinated me as well. So Elon Musk, love him or hate him, announced, he had a big event called the We Robot event, where he announced the new Cyber Taxi, which is a completely driverless car, no pedals, no steering wheels. And it's going to be, hopefully launching in America in whenever he can be bothered to do it, because he's not very good at meeting his deadlines. But they also announced on there the Robo Van, which can seat up to 20 people, again, driverless. The real interesting one here was the robots, though. Optimus robots, these are all live, real videos. They're not computer generated. At the launch event, he had these robots in amongst the crowd. So it's not like when we see US robotics and the stuff, and it's like in a test lab. These were in amongst people. People were talking to them. They were pulling drinks at bars. They're dancing. It was absolutely fascinating to see, because it was just kind of, again, shows where technology can be going.
That's how I dance.
They are entirely based on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting on this one, a lot of people kind of threw shade at him because the conversations that people were having with them, he said it was AI and they were moving based on AI. What it turns out, actually, these are all puppets. So in the wings, there was people controlling these. They're remote control beings. But the fact that they're still remote control and they were allowed to be amongst people and do these things and move around shows, obviously, once they've got the AI working, the controls are fine. Like if we can do that and we can control them remotely, they just need to get the AI there. So it's again something he's reckoning these robots are going to cost 20 to 30K a piece, which isn't a lot of money for something that's going to be realistically, if it can do manual labor and it can do jobs for you, and you don't have to give it any pay, you don't have to make sure it works set hours, it doesn't have to need a lunch break. There's all sorts of weird things. So yeah.
That could the care industry on its head. People that have living carers.
Or companions, yeah. All sorts of, like companion bots for the elderly, helping them out, and yeah, so many things.
Can't do stuff themselves.
The next one on here, let's just talk about Meta a second. So Meta, these sexy glasses, I'm going to call them, they're almost as big as mine. They are one of the first, so AR, VR, the whole idea, augmented reality, we're going to inject stuff into your real world around you. They're the first glasses, you don't have cameras. There's nothing, you see through these. These are an example, they're a prototype. It is at the prototype stage. There is no date for when this will come out. They're looking at the moment, this prototype, if you wanted to buy it, is $10,000. You have to have there's like a little computer that goes in your pocket and a wristband for controlling it. But the whole idea of it is that kind of augmented reality. As they can get these as small as with some of the Ray-Ban stuff, it really kind of just shows the way the world is moving. People were getting really, really excited by these. The closest we get to this at the moment is obviously Apple's version of this, which is a big unit, the Vision. I went and had a play with one. I would recommend, if you have half hour to kill and you're in a city, go and book a demo, because it is kind of a real wow moment. You won't buy one because they're $4,000. And it's very hard to think what niche it fits into. But when you use it and you put it on for the first time and you realize that's a camera feeding into your eyes, but you can't tell the difference. And when you're sat there and they say, you don't need to put your hands out in front of you, just leave them on your lap and you just tap with your fingers and it can see what you're doing. And then you realize you don't have to look your head around because it uses eye tracking and you just look at the bit you want to look at. It's insane. It's very, very clever. But they're all really clever tech demos of where we're heading. In the real world, Meta did, and they've announced and they're releasing this. So this is the Meta Quest 3S. Meta Quest 2 is still the most bought VR headset of all time. The Meta Quest 3, when they announced it, was so much more money. It's nearly £500, and a lot of people went, oh, I don't really want to. If you're playing games, it's like a Switch versus a PS5, and it's like, where are we going with it? So what they said was actually, let's do a 3S. And the 3S is the 2 with the chip from the 3 in it. So you get all of the bonuses, you get the color feed come into your camera, but everything else is from the 2. And by doing that, it's less than 300 quid. So it's incredibly cheap for something that is a cableless. You don't have to be attached to anything. You can play games, you can do work on this, you can do all sorts of things. You can still plug it into a PC as well. Last couple of things. So Microsoft Teams, they have, and they are working on, how many people here use Teams? Just as a show of hands, it's a lot of people. They're getting rid of the confusion of channels and posts and chat. They're going to merge everything into one place. How many here use Slack? Cool. So they're basically turning Teams into Slack, is the best way to describe it. I'm quite excited for it because channels confuse people. I do a lot of teaching with people and try and get them to understand the difference. There's a lot there. People are quite excited about it, and they're going to have threaded chats and everything that come with it as well. That does mean anybody that is using channels and posts in channels and has taught all of their business how to use channels and posts, you're going to have to re-educate them all, which is the real sting in the tail because there's no opt-out. So anyone that looks after a big load of 365 users, it's going to be a little bit of research and a little bit of training materials to add. I always end with what 3 apps I'm using. This one I always get people message me as well, going, oh, thank you for that one. So first one, TurboScribe. If you've recorded a meeting somewhere and you want a transcription of it and you want to chat with AI, TurboScribe, you sign in with your Google account, it will give you 3 transcriptions a day for free. You can pay for more. But it's secure, it's safe, very, very quick way of uploading a meeting. If you've recorded it on your phone, you can get the full transcription very, very quickly. Blip, really, really handy one. I work on lots of different machines, and moving content between those machines sometimes can just be a bit of a pest. I don't want to upload it to the cloud. I can also, if I want to send a file to somebody, I don't want to go into SharePoint and create a sharing link or a OneDrive. So what you can do with Blip is you literally have it running on your machine. You invite a friend, click them, send a file, and it sends it direct from your machine to their machine. There is no it doesn't go to a cloud provider. It's not using a WeTransfer hosted somewhere that somebody else can intercept. It's completely, completely safe, and it's locked under SSL and encrypted as it transfers between those machines. But it's just as quick over the internet as it is locally, as long as you've got good internet speed. And then Notebook LM. I spoke to you about Notebook LM already. If there's one thing you go and have a play with after today, go and have a look at Notebook LM. I'm sure we'll start seeing all these podcasts popping up everywhere. So yeah, very, very cool tool. And that is me. Any questions in the room before I hand back to Rich? Yes.
Sorry, one quick question on that.
Sorry?
TurboScribe.
Yes.
So when you're on a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to buy a recorder in, because the participant will be like, the effect of recording and maybe not so natural. So could we take that video then once it's done and then put it into TurboScribe?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Do you already use 365?
Yeah.
If you're on 365 and you record your video, if you go to stream afterwards where it's recorded, there's a button you can press that will transcribe it for you anyway. So you can do it that way. But anybody that's not, let's say you're on a meeting that you're not hosting, so you can't press record. There's no reason why you couldn't put your phone in front of your computer with audio recording on. It will record what they're saying and you're saying. Then you put it in TurboScribe afterwards. Because I know that's always annoying. Who owns the meeting? Who owns the recording? Mm-hmm. You can kind of get around it that way as well. Yes?
What's the best AI image generator and video?
Videos are an interesting one. Videos are really new. They're still ironing some things out. If you want to have a play with videos, if you want to convert a photo to a video, there's one called Polo.ai. There's quite a queue. You can upload a photo, you tell it what you want that photo to do, and they'll animate that photo and turn it into a video for you. So Polo's probably the easiest one to access and play with at the moment. There are other ones coming. ChatGPT, they believe they're going to be launching theirs the end of this year, just before Christmas. There's a lot of ethics worries with video creation stuff at the moment, so there's not really a race to people, because I can upload a video of anyone to Polo, a photo of anyone to Polo, and ask them to do something that, is that right? Should we be doing that? I did it with myself and it creeped me out, so to do that with a photo of someone else is an interesting one. Image creation, Midjourney still holds the bar for the best photos, but it's probably the hardest product to use. They've got rid of the fact you don't need Discord anymore. You can use the web browser, but you've got to speak to it in a computer language. You've got to almost use / commands and codes and seeds, but there are some great videos out there that will show you how to do it, and you can get some fantastic results.
You mentioned DALL-E.
DALL-E. So DALL-E's built into ChatGPT. You can get some great images on there as well. If you want a challenge, try and get any AI to make a full glass of wine for you.
That is well worth talking about.
I've got a whole class of people trying to do it, and they couldn't do it either. You just can't do it. Obviously, all it does is repeat what it's seen. So with that one, we spoke about the training material. There's not a lot of photos of people with full glasses of wine because nobody has them full to the brim. Yeah.
Or shouldn't do.
Yes.
In terms of AI, for a small typical business owner trying to improve their work processes, a lot of companies don't have the document in the first place. So how will AI improve that, or what are the challenges for a small SME to adopt AI, especially for customer service type applications or frontline?
Process is a really interesting one. So obviously businesses, even if they haven't documented their processes, you find a lot of businesses that haven't. If you go into AI and tell AI, I want to document my processes, can you interview me about them and ask everything you need to then write my documentation for me? It can do. The other one that's a really interesting one with that, if you're doing a process map, ask it once it's done it to provide it in something called mermaid.js. So mermaid.js is a JavaScript code. but they can draw a diagram for you. So it'll write it in code, and you can paste that into other tools that will draw your process map for you. So I know a couple of weeks we're doing some work together. I'll show you that one live because it's a really, really interesting, because then it's not just I've got a textual written version of my process, I've actually got a full diagram to go with it as well.
Potentially see AI using or creating an ISO 9001 process documentation.
I don't see why, like, I used AI to help me with my cyber essentials. So I put all of, I put the whole spiel in and said, you ask me the questions. And when it asked me the questions, we answered it. And then I was like, oh, it needs a bit more, okay, you give me a bit more detail. I needed a policy. It wrote the policy for me. I go in and polish it up afterwards. Like we say, you get your 80% of the way, you've still got to put your final pieces on there. So things like having apps, like restricted apps on my machine. There was some certain artistic graces it took, let's say, and I looked at it and went, well, that's not actually what we want to do. But again, it did a lot of it for me.
Cool.
So, yeah,
Right.
I've digitized you, basically.
A massive round of applause for Scott, please.